everyone. Our topic today for our team live discussion is going to be a 4-day work week, what it can mean for your small business. It's really been a hot topic lately. So, team, who wants to start?
Penny looks like she wants to start. She is excited.
I always start.
I love it. I love it.
So as it pertains to 4-day work week, I do actually have a client that's doing the 4-day work week, and they've done it for a number of years successfully. They're a small CNC machine shop, and they have just built it into their business, and it helps from a recruiting standpoint, because when you are competing against other machine shops for talent with the labor market the way it is right now, we're all kind of combating each other for talent. And so it is whenever I talk to candidates for them and I'm saying, okay, one of the benefits is we have a 4-day work week, they're like, ooh. And it's nice from the owner's standpoint. He enjoys it because he also gets to benefit from the longer weekend. So it gives him some more time to recruit. In addition to that, there's one day that he can focus on just the sales and the things in his role and not have to worry about the individuals at the plant and what's going on there, and whether or not there's any quality issues and things like that. And so for him personally, it also provides a reprieve one day where he can just focus on the things that he needs to and not have to worry about that external stimulus.
I have a question. I have lots of questions, Penny.
I have all the questions.
I have questions for you about. You have answers, I hope. Do you have answers?
We'll see.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Do they do 10-hour days for those 4 days?
They do. And keep in mind, it's a machine shop too. So their hours are 6 to 4:30 with a half-hour lunch. And so it's 4 10-hour shifts with a half-hour unpaid.
And everyone in the company gets the same day off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it is like a Friday or a Monday, so it's like a 3-day weekend.
It's a Friday, yeah. And so that's they work Monday through Thursday, and then they reserve Friday for overtime if they have to get parts and things like that, if there's any kind of an urgent thing. But even when they reserve Fridays for overtime, they promote and try to really adhere to having everybody out by noon on Friday. So if they do work on Friday, they try to keep it to no more than 5 hours. 6 worst case scenario, and then by 12 o'clock everybody's off and they still get the benefit from the long weekend.
That's great.
Yeah,
I mean, I would say that I think it's interesting that they do 10 hours so that everyone, I guess they're hourly employees as well, so it's probably pretty important for them to get 40 hours in a week to be paid a reasonable wage. But I think also there are some companies that can implement a 4-day work week and just do 8-hour days.
Mm-hmm. And there was actually a bill in California, I think it was last year, that was introduced where they were trying to get the entire state to go to a 4-day work week with a 32-hour time frame of the 4/8. And so that's one of the things that I would challenge any business owner who's contemplating if they want to implement a 4-day work week. Is the first decision that you're going to want to make is, are you going to do 8 hours? Are you going to do 9 hours? Or are you going to do 10? Because you have, that variance there between 32, 36, and 40. And then are you going to supplement the pay? So if you decide to do something less than 40, are you still going to pay them for 40 hours? Because keep in mind, there's a lot of warehouses here locally in the area where I am located that they do the 36-hour over the weekend. And so they do 3 12s. And then they're off through the week, and they're able to take advantage of that and get individuals who maybe want a side job, but they can't commit to a full 40 hours, or maybe, the one spouse works Monday through Friday. And then this is a way for the other spouse to get some additional income by working on the weekend. Then they can swap out having the kids or keeping the kids if they don't have childcare options. So that's an option too.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to say is Shopify. Almost everyone knows who Shopify is. Mm-hmm. They do a 4-day work week, but they only do it during the summer. So it's like a treat in the summer for their employees. So that's one way to approach it if you don't want to go full blown all year. Bigger companies, Samsung, Microsoft, they are piloting, especially in Japan. They're doing the 32-hour 4-day week. So for me, being in recruiting, I know there were so many times, because I was heavy in the Silicon Valley, super competitive environment in Silicon Valley, smaller company going against the big companies out there is really, really tough if you don't have something to differentiate yourself. If we had had a 4-day work week, it would have been amazing. And we would have been able to close candidates because that's something that we were offering, that maybe some of the bigger employers that are offering, you know, all of the perks and the daycare and the dry cleaning and this and that, you know, if we had just had that one thing, we really would have been able to close more candidates. And I don't know if you're familiar with ThreadUp, the consignment store.
Yeah.
So they do 4-day work week, and their CEO has said it's been hugely successful for them to do that. So I know
there's been a lot of studies about the increase in productivity by going to a 4-day work week.
It's so interesting because your initial thought would be that there would be a reduction in productivity, but there actually is not. The studies show that there's an increase in productivity because you only have 4 days to get it all done and complete and whatever it is that needs to be done. And so you're going to get it all done because you value that day where you don't have to do anything.
Absolutely.
But there are some industries, right, where they still need to have the coverage. Like maybe if I'm a business that's operating and I need someone there because I need to be open, physically open multiple days, then that's like, for example, my machine shop, you know, they have it built into their model. Monday through Thursday, that's the only time you're getting somebody. But there are other companies out there. And so if they were considering the 4-day work week, it might be a little bit more challenging for them because I may need to be open Monday through Saturday. So now how do I work those schedules to where it could benefit the employee, and maybe it's letting them choose, you know, what day they want to work from home. I have another client of mine that it's not necessarily a 4-day work week, but they have a 980 schedule. And that's a little different too, but it's basically in a 2-week period, you complete your 80 hours within 9 days. And so the way that they work it is they get every other Friday off. And so it's not an every week where you're getting to work the 4 days, but one week you work 45 hours and then the next week you work 4 days and have that Friday off. And so there's just a lot of variations that you can do. But as a business owner, you want to make sure that you kind of have all of these things ironed out, you know, exactly how many days a week does your business need to be open the full time? If so, then you may have to add.
I think that's really important what you just said, like need to be open versus want to be open versus think you should be open, right? Like I think those are three very different things. And so understanding what the actual need is very important, because if it is you're thinking about the well-being of your employees versus what you should do as an employer, let's talk about that, right? And that cue in my dog.
Your furry assistant. Yeah, and you have to look at your operational needs, your business model. Some industries this is going to work better for than others. You know, if you're maybe service-based and your customers need something, you know, 5 days a week. But I always look at like the medical field. I mean, the medical field has done 10, 12-hour shifts forever. That's what they do. I think it's just a matter of, you know, maybe getting like, if you want to implement this, getting a change management plan in place, you know, communicate, be clear as to what expectations are. And I really like the idea of like, some of the other companies have done the summertime. You could trial it out, see if it works, work out those little, you know, kinks you need to work out before implementing it year round. Or maybe it is slower in the summer and you can do something like that. So you just look at your business as a whole and decide if that's something you can do. Great. Because I would think, like Valerie said, you know, and Penny said, like we've talked about, is, I mean, that is a really nice bonus for people when you're trying to recruit talent and it being competitive. 4-day work week during the summer, kids are off school. Great.
And it really helps too, because you know, if thinking of your demographics in your employee workplace, like if you have parents that work for you and they struggle to find childcare during the summer because they've got to find it, you know, all day, Monday through Friday, every day, then that could get you really locked in and get you loyalty points from that employee if it's one less thing that they have to worry about, and you're kind of reducing their stress level in their personal life and allowing them the opportunity to work the 4-day work week. I mean, you could even launch it just one week a month if you wanted to, just to try it out and see if it works. You don't, that's another thing that I see a lot of small business owners, well, if I've got to do it, I've got to do it all. No, you don't. You can start small. Do just a little bit at a time. But these are the small decisions that if you can work it out, you really get a lot of return on your investment. Because if you're in a situation where you can't pay her the higher wages, I mean, we're looking at minimum wage continuing to rise. The labor market is driving wages up. So if you're in a situation where you can't afford to pay the elevated wages, then these are the kind of things that you can do to separate yourself out from a recruiting standpoint. In addition to the other smaller benefits that we've talked about in other webinars.
And also, if you are not a company that can have remote workers, that is a big deal, because everyone wants remote now. If you can't offer remote and you can offer that one other day off a week, that's a big deal.
So I think it's really important to understand what we're trying to say is that there is literally no universal model for a 4-day work week. You can take a 4-day work week and you can turn it into what you need it to be for your company. You can look at it 10 different ways, and you can trial and error 10 different ways and figure out what works for you. I think if you go in and think, okay, Monday through Thursday, 10 hours a day, everyone gets Friday off, I think you're putting yourself in a box and not allowing yourself to really think through what this could look like for you, for your small business, for your company. So there was a study that was done in the UK, and they said these are the things to think about. How do our employees want to work? What productivity opportunities exist? What operational needs have to be balanced? How will this interact with other leave benefits? I think that's really important to think about as you, if you choose to engage in a 4-day work week, right? And then what about engagement, right? So I think that goes back to the first question is like, what do our employees want? Like, what do they even want? Do they want a 4-day work week? Survey them, ask them. That's the only way to know.
Well, and the other component of that too is if it is something that they want, then I'm always a fan of asking the employees, because normally they are the ones that's in the weeds, doing what has to be done every day. So if this is something that they want, then ask them how they think it would be successfully implemented, because that's the other component is they may have ideas of how to roll it out that you've never even thought about, because we do have, as leaders, we tend to put ourselves in boxes, I think sometimes based upon the industry, based upon what we're seeing going on with competitors, or just based upon our own concept of how we grew up and the businesses that we trained in before we started our own thing. So I think sometimes we silo ourselves unnecessarily. So if you do decide to ask your employees, then ask them for some ideas of how to roll it out. I bet they would surprise you.
Absolutely.
100%. I think they would. The other thing I was just thinking is like, we're talking about a 4-day work week, but what if we even just shorten the work day, right? So, and create, so it's still 5 days, but then you just shorten the work day, and then that creates different hours too. Anyway, all of that to say,
yeah, keep going. Like you said, there's no,
we can do this. Right. We can do this a number of ways. And the idea, like, let's just think about a weekend. You are done with work on Friday. You have Saturday to decompress, unwind, not think about work. And then Sunday, you're already thinking about work again because you go back the next day. So really and truly, it is for the mental well-being of you as an employer and your employees to have one extra day to decompress and come back rejuvenated.
Yeah. And if you want to read a good blog about Sunday Scaries, Jessica wrote a great one not too long ago about Sunday Scaries. Hopefully none of your employees are having the Sunday Scaries. We want to avoid that.
Yes. Yeah. If they do, we have some other things we probably want to coach you through.
Yeah. Feel free, reach out.
As your business partner in that.
Yeah.
So.
And if you don't have a business partner, we probably have one available for you.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
we
All
certainly do.
Any parting words? No? I think we kind of ran the gamut a bit on that. I mean, we could probably keep going for hours. I feel like.
Well, and I was going to say, like, I mean, it's one of those things where if you sit back and you think, right? So I'm thinking, okay, well, what are the other potential cons, that could be associated with the 4-day work week? Because there are some cons. I mean, if your customers can't get in touch with you, then that might be a problem. As far as additional pros that we didn't talk about, if you're a brick and mortar facility, I mean, there's some savings on energy because it's one less day that you're having to have your machines, your equipment, your computers, your offices on. You might could reduce your housekeeping needs if you have someone coming in that you're paying for to clean every day. Then you can reduce those services by 1 day. So there's a lot of savings opportunities. The studies have shown there is an increase in productivity, so that would be a win. But there are cons if you're in a business model where they might pop up with questions or needs or things like that on the what ifs. If you, let's say, went Monday through Thursday, then if somebody absolutely needed you on Friday, what are the backup plans for that? So that's something that you would want to think through. And then do you want to put employees on call on those days? So there's a lot of things. We just encourage you, if it's something that you think might work, it's probably worth looking into, just to remain competitive and to be an advocate for your employees, providing them the best work-life balance that you can.
And even if you think it might not work, I just explore it a little bit, right? Like, talk to your HR business partner, explore the possibilities of a 4-day work week and how that might transpire for you and your company and what that might look like. I think sometimes we go into over the closed mindset thinking it might not work for us, but maybe on these days where you have to be open, right? You're brick and mortar, you can do a skeleton crew, right? So who are the people that need to be there and can we shift them out every other week? And so, we can talk through that with you, but I think a 4-day work, go ahead, Penny, I know you.
I was just going to say, and the other thought is, there may be people who choose not to do the 4-day work week. So keep that in the back of your mind too, because now I'm going back to my machine shop, and the accounting manager actually in that facility does not want to work 4 10-hour days. And so she chooses to work 8-hour days. And then she has the option on Friday to work from home if she's able to. And so there's just a lot of things that you can do. But the key to all of this, I think, is find out what your employees are interested in, and then just explore it. And if you're able to work it in, then great. If not, then just explain. I think a lot of times it comes across for employees better knowing that you've at least thought about it, rather than just, oh, they'll never do that, or they would never consider that. It just shows that you're open-minded.
Absolutely. Second that.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you.